Welcome into Talkin Ducks. Oregon coming off one of their most impressive regular season victories of all time. They go on the road to Happy Valley in a whiteout at night and silence Penn State. And joining me to talk about one of the all-time greatest games we ever saw, we've got Anthony Newman, we've got George Reister, and we've got Aaron Fentress from the Oregon. Wait a second. That's not Aaron. Well, I do know Aaron had this to say about his score prediction last week. Roll it.
I think Penn State's going to rush for over 200. I think Drew Aller is going to make enough plays to win this game. I think the Ducks' run game is going to sputter. I think Dante Moore is not going to be able to carry them. I don't think he's going to have a bad game, but it's going to be obvious he's not going to be able to carry them. I think I got it 30-20 right now, Penn State, but I don't think it's a situation where it's a bad thing. I think you come out of it taking your
No, don't try to backdoor it now.
Oh, no.
That's why I said this before. You come out of the loss and you have a week off, and then you got a week to prepare, 2 weeks to prepare for Indiana. And I think you're going to be a much better team on the other side of this. But I just don't think that they have anyone on this roster has really proven that they're ready for this. And I think it's just going to be too much, and they have to go through it to become better, just like Marcus had to go through it twice. I forgot the next year they lost at Stanford after looking unbeatable, right? And then in 14, boom, they take off. So that's my prediction. I'm sticking to it. 30-20 Penn State.
Clip that. Let's start the show.
Clip it.
Next week.
Clip it. Clip it.
All right, so George, obviously, Aaron had different thoughts about who's going to win this game. And your take on what Oregon was able to do on the road against a Penn State team that many people, including our very own Aaron Fentress, thought was going to win.
I told you so. I knew what was going to happen, man. I consume more college football content than probably it can't be 20 people in the nation that do. And I've seen every snap of Penn State coming into this game. Their offense has looked disjointed. I questioned whether their schedule in the preseason was going to have them ready for this game because they played Nevada. Nevada's having a rough year in terms of offensively, FIU and Villanova, and then a bye. I knew it was not going to have them ready for the Ducks and the level of physicality that they were playing with. And the game went exactly how I thought it would go. I knew that Penn State was going to have some fight in them at some point in time. But when I watched the all 22 back, I was like, yo, there were still plays that because Penn State made some plays, but there were some plays there were 5 or 6 plays that Oregon is literally one, not even just missed block, but just pushed a little bit wider for the back to being out the gate. I am excited. I'm more excited about Oregon and the future potential than I was going into this game. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And Aaron Fentress, he needs to eat his words. He's a Judas. He is a traitor. He is listen, you are even worse.
Oh, he's back now. Whoa.
You are a non-believer, Aaron. You are a non-believer. Now, there is a difference in being, I'm objective and I need to see things before I do it and blah, blah, blah. Sometimes you got to have faith. Sometimes you got to look at it and be like, I know what I'm looking at. I knew what I was looking at, and it happened.
He doesn't.
Now that you're here in the flesh, Aaron, defend yourself here, please, because everyone else is right on this program. You were wrong. You're the one that is spending probably more time than anybody else with this team. What did you not see? Why don't you believe in these Ducks, Aaron?
Okay, first of all, let me remind you guys that last year when Ohio State won the playoff game, I came in here and I was nice. I didn't rub it in. I didn't talk trash. I was classy about it, even though I had picked Ohio State and you guys all picked the Ducks. So I'm just a little, taken aback at how aggressive you're being, George. I mean, come on, man. I thought we were boys. What's up?
We in competition, we do not care. We do not care.
But I was nice to you guys.
Wait, I don't give a rat's.
Yes.
Being
you
nice.
Want sympathy?
I don't want sympathy.
There's no crying in football.
Oh, come on, man. Come on.
All right, what do I have to say for myself? Absolutely nothing. not only did I get the winner wrong, I got the game wrong. Because there's a difference. Sometimes you might pick the winner, but you analyze the game completely incorrectly. Sometimes you might have the game nailed down, but things happen and you pick the winner wrong. This one, 100% wrong across the board. I told George this on the Ducks Confidential podcast, which you can also go check it on YouTube, where he spent like an hour tearing into me, that 2 series into the game, it was clear to me not only was Penn State not going to dominate in the run game, which I said they would, but they seemed like they were afraid to run the football straight ahead. They're trying to run outside, they're doing misdirection, rolling out Aller, throwing backside screens. It was like, what are you doing? Run at this team that you rushed for 297 against last year. You averaged 200 yards rushing in 3 playoff games. You were averaging 200 yards rushing coming into this game. You have your both backs back, most of your offensive line back, and you look scared, and it played out the rest of the way. The other thing is that Dante didn't have to deal, because I thought Penn State would go up and then could Dante carry them. He didn't have to do that. But the beauty of Dante was that he played within himself. He played within the game. It was almost like a grinded out NFL game where you just want your quarterback not to kill you and then make plays when they're there. He was special in that regard. Sometimes a performance like that is better than when a guy throws for 350 and 5 touchdowns, because a lot of times it's because the other team couldn't get pressure and they're letting guys run wide open, right? This is a game where the other team played good coverage, so they sometimes got pressure. They smacked him around when he was trying to run, but he played within himself. So I was wrong about that as well. So you guys, you have this hour to just rip me to shreds all you want. I was wrong.
I appreciate that, Aaron. Anthony, your thoughts, because
Yeah.
you saw the light. You knew what was going to happen in this game.
Yeah.
You guys,
Yeah. First
you
of
didn't
all,
know Jack.
well, no. First of all, I'm going to give Aaron a mulligan because he was a punter, so he doesn't understand football.
I was a wide receiver. I was a wide receiver. And I played for 2 future Oregon OCs. Okay, I can break this down with the best of them, buddy.
I'm
go
up.
ahead.
You're supposed to listen. I'm up. I'm talking.
Because people actually believe I was just a punter.
Well, you were a punter in my dreams. Okay, you were punting the ball. But anyway, you just have to understand, when you look at this Oregon team, they're special, and and the coaches. Now, sometimes I get some insight that I don't want to talk about because I'm talking to coaches. But they told me during fall camp, this team is special. This team is very special. Last year, when they played Ohio State, they said this team has some dogs on this football team, and I'm surprised we won that football game because this team is packed with players. So they're honest. They understand. But when you have your coaches tell you, hey, my football team is really good, they've been around for a long time. They see it. And we'll get into this, but I'm just surprised with the freshmen that are on this football team. This is a football team that won the Big Ten conference, and you have freshmen who were playing in high school at Duncanville in Mater Dei, and they are a big impact on this football team this year. That is unreal. So this coaching staff, they know what they're doing.
Dude, and Aaron, I tried to tell you because you were like, I need to see it. I think that I'm looking at Dante Moore, and it reminds me of Marcus Mariota in 20 whatever, and this happened, and I'm like, Aaron,
why you gotta change your voice? Why you gotta change your voice like that? Bro?
Because your voice is a little squeaky like that. So no, so I tried to tell you, I was like, the kid took his lumps already. He took his lumps already, and he went and sat, got humbled, became a better leader. All the signs were there. It is like, Aaron, like in life, the people who make the most money in investments and stuff are early adopters. Like if you were an early adopter to Twitter, to TikTok, to Facebook, all of those things, you ended up with more followers, bigger following, even if you weren't necessarily the best at what you did. So, and the thing that early adopters figure out is they see something and then they have a vision for it. And you just don't have the vision. There are plenty of people who are smart. And Aaron, you are smart and you are educated. And sometimes that smart and that education, that smart guy thing, it gets in the way of your vision.
Okay,
Aaron, I'm
no,
gonna give you
no.
one
I have to
before
react
we
to
go
that
break.
nonsense. I have to react to that nonsense because George is forgetting 2021 after Ohio State win. I was like, yeah, this team's not it. He insisted that they were, and I told him they were going to get smashed by Utah. He didn't think so. They got smashed by Utah. He's ignoring
The
last
coach
year.
was had
He's-
one foot out the door. What do you expect?
He's ignoring
He was
last
packing
year.
up his house to go to Miami.
Let me finish. You're ignoring last year when after they beat Ohio State, I still was like, I got reservations. I picked Ohio State in that game. You're also ignoring, you probably didn't know me then, but the 2014 team that went to the national championship game, I mapped that team out in 2012 and said that, in 2012, talk about vision, that the 14 team was going to be the greatest team in program history. In 2015, I mapped out the 2017 basketball team and said that team's going to the Final Four. So don't give me this, you don't have this stuff. I got this game wrong. It's one game. I don't want to hear anything else about it.
All right.
Let's just stop with that.
We're
You're going
gonna
too far,
hit the
Georgie
brakes
boy.
on all
You're
this.
going
We
too
got
far.
him.
I'm glad that, Aaron, you called that stuff out. You're right, yes. And I think the people tuning in want to hear more about why Oregon got the win over Penn State. So when we come back on Talkin Ducks, we'll talk a little bit more about the specialness of both Dante Moore and Dan Lanning and the masterclass they put on in Happy Valley when we come back on Talkin Ducks. Welcome back to Talkin Ducks. Oregon getting the win over Penn State in Happy Valley. Clearly one of the biggest non-conference victories in recent Oregon history. And Anthony, what does this win mean for this year's Oregon team that was kind of on the outside of that bubble as far as national championship contenders, but now find themselves ranked in the top three and with arguably the most impressive win of the season in college football underneath their belts?
Well, this might not be good content for the show because I'm gonna sound like a coach. There's a lot of football left. By the way, Aaron, I still love you. But so there's a lot of football left. That's just another football game. It was a big game. It was two top teams going at it, and Oregon won at third place. We get it, we understand it, but you have to move on. Talk about Ohio State last year. They came to Oregon, they lost, but they won the national championship. So, a lot of things that still can happen. You talk about injuries. It's a collision sport. You want to keep everybody healthy. You want to keep playing good. This team has a high ceiling, and yes, they are good. And that was a big win. Get it, got it. Okay, but now it's the next day. Okay, it's the day after, and you have to move on. So as players and coaches, who's next? Let's get healthy first. We got a bye week. Let's understand our fundamentals. Okay, let's practice. We don't have to worry about scheme right now. Let's worry about fundamentals, technique, and getting healthy, and maybe walk away for a day or two and come back because that took a lot out of you. But you also have to understand that if you get caught up in this hype, and we do because we're fans, and I know Dan Lanning won't let it happen, but you think yourself, we're pretty good. You haven't done anything. You just won a football game. You haven't won a championship yet. Go win a championship.
And
Perfect.
it's such a good point because we've been here before where Oregon's had a big regular season victory. Aaron brought it up in 2021 at Ohio State. Last year, home against Ohio State. And while that's great for momentum in the regular season, George, it still comes down to what are you going to do in December and January? And can you get those victories when they matter so much more? I guess my question is, what does this win show us about Oregon and its potential as far as what they could be later on down in the season? Because this wasn't just a flash in the pan, lucky fluke victory. They earned this win, and you learned a lot about this team finally playing some very stiff competition this year.
The thing that I learned is that, okay, we learned a lot about this team and that what they are capable of. But let's not lose sight of the fact of Oregon was supposed to win this game. I believe Oregon was supposed to win this game. And we are to a point as a program where we're supposed to beat pretty much everybody that shows up in front of us. I mean, it's just the truth. So we are supposed to enjoy this victory, but not storm the field. Like this ain't a storm the field kind of. Like you're to the point. Like if we beat Indiana, there's no storm in the field. It's like, okay, cool, enjoy the win. Like, But like, there's a difference between fans coming on the field and there being a storming of the field. Like, I don't think there should be a storming of the field. And I believe that what you've seen is that this team is special and it can do great things. So while we do know that December and January are the most important things that playing your best at that point in time, but you also have to realize and enjoy the moments that are here and don't get lost into oh my God, yeah, it's cool to be 11-0 or 12-0 or 10-1 or whatever. That you don't lose sight of the being where your feet are, which is what the coach is preaching to the team versus looking forward.
Aaron, thoughts on this? Because as you pointed out, Oregon's been here before, but there's still a lot of football to be played, as Anthony said. And as
He's
much
grumpy
as you want to
right now. You see the hands folded?
I'm not grumpy. You were just putting me to sleep there for a second.
Go ahead, Aaron. Your thoughts.
No, it's a huge win. Like there's no doubt about it. This is a good Penn State team. I don't consider them I never thought of them a team that's necessarily going to win it all. But they were in the Final Four last year. They returned a lot of players. That's a good football team. My feelings on Oregon were cemented, regardless of the outcome, when they went up 17-3. I was like, they answered two major questions. One, could they stop the run against a good team on the road who has a really good running game? And they did. And two, Dante didn't make any mistakes really in the first half, and then came out in the second half and led them on 2 straight touchdown drives. So that told me all I need to know about this team. Had they lost it in overtime, like let's say Dante doesn't throw a touchdown to put them up. Let's say Thieneman doesn't get the pick and they lose that game, that wouldn't have changed my feelings of where this team was. The fact that they did overcome, a team scoring 3 straight touchdowns and figuring out a way to win is definitely another notch up. But I think they established themselves as a team that you don't see any clear weaknesses. Because the two coming in, I still stand by what I said. Could they stop the run? And we'd never seen Dante perform that way against a good Power 4 team, ever. That was his first one ever, and it happened to be at Penn State in that situation, which is huge. So, yeah, very impressive win, but yes, a long way to go. Because remember, I told George this on our podcast. They didn't win 30-10. Like, they were losing in overtime. So this was a game that could have gone either way, no matter what you want to say. Let me say one thing, too. The whole thing, let me say one thing. I'm just saying, let me say one thing. You keep talking about all the things left on the field. That's the same thing people were saying after Ohio State last year. Oh, we barely only won by 1 point, but we should have won by 17. And I was just like, oh my God, that's not how football works, and you know that. So we'll see what happens down the line. I'm not saying they won't run the table, but I do think there's some dangerous games coming up.
Yeah, and
by run the table in the regular season.
Look at Dan Lanning, he is starting to win more and more of these big regular season tilts, right? Because prior to this, really the matchups against Washington in the regular season were a couple of games that squirreled away from him. But you look at what he was able to accomplish on the road, and you look at the decision to go for it on 4th down deep in Penn State territory rather than just taking the points and what was a defensive battle. That'll go down as a very shrewd decision, even though Oregon went up 17-3 and you see the fist pumps and excitement on the sideline. They needed every single one of those points with the way that Penn State responded. And so you have to tip your hat to Dan Lanning and stepping on the gas at the right time. But really just his approach to me, yes, the X's and O's are important here, Anthony. But I think what we're seeing is he's doing a masterful job of mentally preparing his players to play on these stages and to not be overwhelmed by what they're dealing with. And I was just curious what you sort of seen from him over the last couple of years coming into this game now.
Well, what I see in Dan Lanning, well, first of all, it's Dan Lanning and his coaching staff, because the staff, they're, position coaches coaching the running backs, the receivers, the DBs. He has a great staff, a great supporting staff. But I think this is really important to understand, that a coach can know all the X and O's, they can know strategies, they can know how to manage a game and all that kind of stuff. But the kids have to trust and buy in to the head coach. They have to believe in him and trust him. And these kids will do anything for Coach Lanning. And that's when that becomes very powerful, because I know as an ex-player, if I had a coach, and I will do anything for that coach. I'm going to step in front of a train. I'm going to work harder. I'm going to be on time. Okay, I'm going to be focused in practice, because I don't want to disappoint him. And that's how those kids believe. That's what those kids believe. And it's unreal. And just talking to him as a person, he's a great individual. I understand that. But he knows how to get everything out of these football players. And it's really unreal.
Can we talk about the fact that the thing that nobody has mentioned, this is Dan Lanning's 4th year as a head coach. And the man is like 40-6 as a head coach, a first-time head coach. Guys who have been long-time coaches haven't figured it out. So he has figured out how to lead men, hire really good assistants, put together a standard, a mentality, all those things, bounce back from losses against Washington in his first year head coaching. And well, that the one loss and then the 2 losses the second year, people are, I don't know. It's his second year, and the dude's only 39 years old. Like, that's the thing that nobody's talking about. He's a baby.
I was talking about that the whole last 4 years. Don't say nobody. I've made that point numerous times, George.
What?
Go ahead. The fact that he's young, when people are ripping on him for all those things, I said numerous times he's in his second or third year.
I'm saying that nobody's talking about that now, as far as him being a 39-year-old 4th-year head coach, and you look at what he has figured out very quickly. Like this has, like, he has all the markings and all the hallmarks of like a long time excellent, like, history-wise head coach, like those types of characteristics. Granted, history is not always kind to everybody, but it's a good start.
Off to a terrific start, he certainly is. And when we come back on Talkin Ducks, we'll talk more about Dante Moore. I think he answered a lot of questions people maybe had about him and really put himself on the national stage and vaulted himself to possibly the Heisman favorite. We'll let you know when we come back on Talkin Ducks. Oregon obviously had the impressive win against Penn State the other night, but Dante Moore basically reintroduced himself to the national audience, and his performance in this game here, Aaron, I looked at just his body language and the number of 3rd and shorts, 4th and shorts, key plays in overtime. He looked unflappable. He had that composure about him that you desire in your quarterback, as far as just poise and consistency. And for him to do this after sitting out a year, learning behind Dylan Gabriel, behind the tough season he had in UCLA when he came out as a freshman, he has now set the stage for himself to be in that conversation of best quarterback in college this year based upon this performance. And it seemed like he answered a lot of questions people had about him. Not that they didn't think he could do the things he did on Saturday. They were just wondering, what will we see of Dante Moore when he gets his first true test as the Oregon quarterback?
Right, we just hadn't seen it yet. You saw signs that he obviously had matured a lot over the last couple of years. Even the fact that he admitted numerous times that he was humbled that first year, that he realized he wasn't ready. And that takes a lot of maturity sometimes for guys. Underwood at Michigan and Lagway at Florida can take some lessons for what Dante has demonstrated in year 3. Sometimes you just need time to develop. And it's okay to sit behind a vet and develop, because look what can happen. But yeah, I mean, he's got 14 touchdown passes with 1 interception. And they're 5-0 with a win over at Penn State that everyone saw. So yeah, sorry, he's going to be a Heisman favorite until he, if he has a bad game. Damn, sorry. We can edit that out. Anyway, God, sorry. Anyway, as I was saying.
Hey, that was God stopping
got
you
your tongue,
from,
Aaron?
That was God stopping you from saying something ridiculous.
Before I said but, right? Before I said but no, seriously.
Even
I said
his
this
voice knows he's about to say something ridiculous.
No, I'm not. Listen. All of us here have watched a lot of quarterbacks, right? Some of us have played with NFL quarterbacks like you. Some of us have played against NFL quarterbacks like Anthony. And I think we all know when you see that sort of it thing, and it's not just the gaudy stats, right? Yep. It's the poise and the calmness within the construct of how the game's going, right? He could have easily been like, we need to move the ball in the first half, right? I'm going to force something. I'm going to try and make something happen. And just made a crazy throw. Like Lagway at LSU. Lagway's interceptions at LSU were just ridiculous. Like, get that guy off the field. Dante resisted doing that. He really never made a throw where you were like, ooh, what was he doing? And he ran when he needed to run. He threw it away. He checked it down. He was very careful. There was one play, a 4th and 1. I think this was in 3rd. They play action. Pretty much had one read, right, to Corian on a deep dig, I think it was. And he just stood in there and just stuck it in there, like a vet, like you would expect Montana to Rice, Brady to Moss, that kind of thing. And so I was extremely impressed with his overall poise. And after the game, he was really nonchalant about it, right? He was really matter of fact about, yeah, this is who I am. I'm glad I finally got to show everybody that this is what I'm capable of.
And George, I think that was what people were wondering coming into this year. I mean, the last couple of years, you had Dylan Gabriel, you had Bo Nix. They were wildly efficient. What were we going to see from Dante Moore? And, you know, it's just, I think Aaron hit on the head. You now have this unflappable almost machine out there that was able to go into Happy Valley in the whiteout and just stay so calm in the middle of that storm throughout the entire night.
Well, he proved to himself and to everybody else that he is who he thinks he is. And everybody else knows it now too, because all of the questions, you're like, oh yeah. I mean, when you watch that game, remember people came into the season, oh, Drew Aller might be the #1 pick and this, and this. And I told everybody, there's no chance. This kid looks like Tarzan, plays like Jay. And but like he looks really good getting off the bus. Oh my God, he's 6'5". He looks every bit of the part. But when you watch that game, one of those dudes looked like an NFL quarterback and the other one didn't. Yeah. I mean, it was just clear as day. And now you're excited because you're like, oh wow, to win a Big Ten championship, to win a playoff game, to win a national championship, at some point in time, your quarterback has to be a superhero. And people now believe, like, he doesn't have to be a superhero every week, but there's at least one game in the playoff he's going to have to be a superhero. And now everybody in that locker room knows, everybody on that coaching staff knows, everybody from the other coaches know. They're like, yo, on 4th down, Oregon's not just going to stuff it up the middle. They might drop back. They might hard play action and throw a 30-yard pass on 4th down because they believe in that guy that much. Think about it. They believed in him so much on 4th down. They were like, it ain't a read option, just a little short. They were like, no, we are going for broke. It is a 2-man route, and it is crossers, and we are going to depend on him to get it done. I love it.
And then, Anthony, if you look at some other stars that were able to shine, how about De'Aaron Hill and the running back position? Obviously, we knew this year coming in who was going to be the lead back, who was going to step up at different times, but to have yet another face in a key game and some key moments as well, too, you got to be excited if you're Oregon at this ground game moving forward.
Yeah, he's a young man that has a special talent. He's got the ability. He's explosive. He's fast. He's quick. Oh, I mean, it's just unreal. But he has high football IQ, setting up his blocks, understanding where the blocks are coming from, running the football, using the speed. Then you slow down. Then you accelerate again. And he's a baby. That's what's crazy. He's a baby. Now let's give him some credit to the offensive line because he's using his offensive line to his ability. Because those are the big boys back there, and he's not the biggest guy, but yet he still has some good size for a freshman. He's only going to get bigger, faster. He's. I'm not saying this. He's not DeAnthony yet, but he's looking like that. I'm telling you, this kid is special. He is.
And that's what's exciting is that you saw this mix of experience for Oregon, but also a lot of young players stepping up. And when you can have youth in these environments come through clutch, we all know that this experience is very, very invaluable. Well, don't go anywhere. When we come back, we've got more Talkin Ducks. We'll take a grander look at the scheme of this entire college football world now that Oregon has shocked it. And then we'll also take a look ahead at Oregon's matchup against Indiana. Don't go anywhere. We still have more Talkin Ducks coming your way. Welcome back to Talkin Ducks. Time now for Road to Victory, brought to you by Guarantee Chevrolet. And for that, we talk about the Oregon defense. Anthony, they stopped the run on the road against a team that can really run the football. I think more than anything else that we've seen over the years with an Oregon team playing an impressive game, that right there has got to be the most promising outlook for Oregon's future when you look at what that defensive line did on Saturday night.
Hey, we all know this defense travels. You know, you take a defense wherever and get a grass field or some turf, and they're going to play. And this defense won the game up front, the front seven. And, I'm not a big stats guy, but this is kind of crazy. When you look at the top tacklers on this team in this game, they were all linebackers and D linemen. And then I think the number 6 was Dylan Thieneman. He was the first safety. So that is a great defense when your safeties and your DBs don't have to do a lot of tackling because the linebackers and D linemen are taking care of business. What, 5 tackles for loss? That is, you have to win the line of scrimmage, and that's what happened. And then Bear Alexander came through. He was a guy waiting for that breakout game. He had a breakout game. They couldn't block him. And then Amari Washington, they couldn't block him. And Green. I mean, there were so many. The 2 edge rushers, Mateo and Tatum. This front 7 these are some bad boys. And
it's better than it was last year.
Yes. and Aaron's right. Penn State ran for 290 against them last year. But that was last year. And you're right. They got the 2 running backs. But Oregon they are stacked with that front 7. So that was a good matchup to watch, and Oregon won that matchup.
Aaron, you had talked about it being one of the big questions coming into this year. Can they stop the run? All the talent they lost in the NFL draft in the front 7. You weren't questioning it as if they couldn't. You're just curious to see if they could. And
I said they wouldn't.
This game,
I said they wouldn't.
No, I said
they wouldn't.
I think that was a legitimate concern and question coming into this season was, can they stop the run? If not, it would make for a very long season. It is one game, right? But my goodness, what an impressive performance when you hold Penn State to basically 3 points through the first 3 quarters, and then Penn State has to start airing it out and able to move the ball down the field.
I'm not sure which is worse, like getting waterboarded in Guantanamo or having to answer the same thing over and over again about how I was wrong. I've talked about this already, okay? You don't have to keep rubbing it in.
I'm not saying you were wrong. I'm asking for your expert analysis on what you saw from this Oregon run defense that has now proven the fact that this is a defense that can actually stop the run.
I saw a team that immediately established that we own the line of scrimmage. And Penn State were scared to run it between the tackles. Like, it was clear as day.
I got a question for you.
Let me finish. If you take away a lot of the outside fly sweep misdirection stuff, they wouldn't have done anything on the ground. I mean, Allen and Singleton did next to nothing. So, yeah, the front 7 was amazing. And so moving forward, I'm going to go into every game now. I'll be shocked if another team can run the ball that well. Now, I think Penn State did have 100 yards rushing in the second half and overtime, but still, I mean, the damage was done before that. Go ahead, George.
So, Aaron, the question that the Duck world wants to know is, after this game, going into the winning this game, as impressively as they were, physical as they were, is the window open this year?
Okay, so here's what's funny about this. Y'all act like they won by 20.
What you mean, y'all?
Y'all, the Oregon
y'all
world,
were right.
George.
That's all I know. We were right.
They won by 20, right? They won in overtime.
Not the question, Aaron.
I know. I'm getting to your answer.
Listen to the question, Aaron. Listen to the question from George.
I know. I'm answering the question. I know what the question was. Let me get to it. Okay. So, like I said, I didn't think Penn State was necessarily a national contender. So the fact that they beat them barely in double overtime isn't going to change that necessarily in terms of my window. Remember, my window's smaller than your window. Your window's like, if you're in the playoffs, you're in the window. Mine is smaller. Are you a clear favorite, top 2 or 3 favorite going into it? All right. So last year, as big a win as this was for Oregon, it was a big win. It's not like they didn't beat them 10 months ago in the Big Ten championship game, right? They've beaten them before. They beat Ohio State last year, right? So no, I don't necessarily think winning this game. And why is this win bigger than Alabama winning at Georgia? Like, why is it bigger than that? It's bigger because we're talking about the Ducks and everyone wants.
No, it's Georgia. Alabama's already lost. Alabama lost to Florida State.
Still, that makes it even more impressive. They've already lost the game and they won.
If you've watched, Georgia doesn't even look good right now.
Okay.
Georgia does not look. They haven't looked good even prior to this week.
You said Penn State was overrated and Aller not any good. So you said Penn State wasn't that great. That's why you thought Oregon was going to win for sure.
No, I did not say Penn State was not that great. That is not what I said. I said Drew Aller's not that great. So the question is, who do you believe can win a national championship? My window's smaller than your window. Who are the teams that you believe that can win a national championship?
I don't think we know yet. I mean, Ohio State definitely. Beyond that, I don't think we know.
Okay.
It's too early. And I'm
All
not
right.
gonna base it on beating Penn State. I mean, that doesn't move the needle for me.
So
that
you're
much.
not going to base it on going on the road and being the number 3 ranked team in the country.
Where are they ranked now?
They're 7. That's still an impressive win.
The rankings are subjective. Just because they were ranked 3rd doesn't mean they were the 3rd best team, Jordan. You understand that, right? Just because you're ranked somewhere doesn't mean you're actually that number in reality.
So
that's why the numbers change every week.
When they beat a team that's not ranked as high at home later in the season? Did they have to get to 8 wins and then that proves that they can do it, even though those next 4 games outside of Indiana might not be nearly as difficult?
We went through this last year.
Would it have proven to you if they won by 2 touchdowns?
We went through this exact same thing last year, leading up to 34-0 in the second quarter. Okay, so let's not act like I'm insane. Okay, I need to see more. I'm just saying.
We will talk more about the playoffs when we come back. We'll take a break. We'll talk more about the playoffs. See if we can somehow frame some teams that might make it, or is it too early in some people's universe? Stick around. We'll be right back on Talkin Ducks. All right, welcome back to Talkin Ducks. We are in a middle of a spirited debate about whether or not Oregon's victory on the road at number 3, Penn State, warrants enough proof to put them in that group of teams that could possibly win a national title this year. Some people feel yes, it does. Others feel like they need to see more evidence. But I want to ask you one more time, Aaron. A lot of stuff you're saying is, well, this happened last year to them. If you look at this year in a vacuum and you don't look at trends between certain programs, because you could say, oh, well, because Penn State lost, that's okay. I remember a Big Ten team last year that lost early in the season, Ohio State, and won the title. So they'll figure it out. Even if Penn State loses the last regular season game, as long as they get in there, they'll dominate. So yeah, I don't know what you base it on, but at this point in the season, 5 games in, does Oregon look like a team? Yes or no? I just want one of 2 words here. Yes or no? Does Oregon look like a team that could win the national championship?
I don't know.
Yes or no? I know it's really hard. I know you really want to just...
Lord,
I don't know.
I'm about to get up out of here.
All right.
Dude, can I ask a question? So one of the running things Joey and I would say all the time, right, is that we have to wait till November. So y'all can pick on me all you want, but Joey Harrington, one of the greatest players in program history who played in the NFL, would say it every year. We're talking about this stuff in September? Really? We're talking about who's going to win it all in September?
No,
That's
nobody
ridiculous.
is saying,
No,
Aaron,
so,
you are missing the entire point.
No, I'm not.
We got a G block of content to fill. That's why.
I didn't know. I didn't know last year. I didn't know in 21. Did Oregon win it? Did they come close to winning it? No. I didn't know in 19. They went and lost to ASU. So there's 3 examples where they look like they maybe, and I didn't know, and they lost. So let's not act like I'm crazy. We're 5 games in.
No, the thing
we're 5
that's
games
crazy,
in.
Aaron, the thing that's crazy is we are in I came into this season. I did not pick Oregon to win the national championship. I don't know if they're going to win a national championship. However, what I do know from all the college football that I've watched through 5 weeks is that there are 4 teams right now that look like that they are in a different category at this point in time than everybody else. Oklahoma, Miami, Oregon, and Ohio State. That's who it appears at this point in time. We're not trying to project down the road. We're just saying right from now. The evidence that we have right now, it appears that this is a team that should make the playoff and in the elite group of teams in college football right now.
Okay, I'm a Miami Hurricane fan, as you know. You just said Miami's in that window. I'm saying it right now, I don't know. I need more evidence and more time. That's how I'm wired. And it's worked out for me. So I'm not going to make a prediction like that in September.
No vision.
So, move along. Let's go to the next. Okay,
vision.
whatever.
We
just talked about my vision in the past and how right I am on these things, George. So stop.
About Indiana. But Anthony, from what you've seen and from the other teams in college football so far this season, 5 weeks in, if you had to pick 4 teams that looked like they could win the national title, are you putting Oregon in that group based upon all the football you've seen?
Again, speaking as a coach and an ex-player who's played the game a long time, I have a lot of experience. I've seen a lot, been around a lot of Hall of Fame players and coaches. And I know when I will see good football. I understand when I see good football. Now, I'm not predicting who's going to win the thing at the end because injuries are part of football. That happens. I'm talking about today. I'm talking about what I've seen right now. If I'm going to pick 4 teams that can play, that have a chance to win it, Oregon is one of them. By what I see for how they played the game, period. They can run, they can throw, they can catch, they can block, they can tackle, they can do it all. That's what I see. Period.
I can't fathom getting that fired up in September. I just don't get it. But it's cool.
I love the passion.
It's September, bro.
Give me all the juice. Well, listen, a lot to talk about.
Monday was the first day of school at Oregon.
Next for Oregon. They will have a bye week, then a matchup against Indiana. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll preview that as we wrap up this edition of Talkin Ducks. All right, welcome back to Talkin Ducks. We're getting ready to head out of here, but before we go, Oregon has a bye week, much needed. And then a lot of people didn't have this prior to the season, a top 10 matchup against Indiana. Indiana being the last Big Ten team to come into Autzen Stadium and beat the Ducks. I was a student there back in 2004. They came in and just shocked Oregon. Can they do it again in a couple of weeks? Early thoughts on this matchup, George, as Indiana has now quickly become one of the hotter teams in the country.
Man, I told Aaron that I had actually a higher threat level for Indiana prior to the Penn State game. So I believe that this team is good. They are talented. If they get on a roll, you saw what they did to Illinois, who's still a very good football team. Things can snowball with this team. So I think it is time to be prepared for it. And I got a chance to ask that question to Dan Lanning because I got a chance to interview him, and you guys can watch it on Unafraid Show on YouTube as well. So I asked him about that, and he's like, listen, we just got to just stay the course and keep doing all the right things.
Okay, let me go next because I'm going to illustrate how ridiculous that whole segment was before. George Rice, your Mr. I watch football, blah, 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 told me and said on the Ducks Confidential podcast that Illinois was going to squash Indiana and that he thought Illinois was going to be one of the 4 teams from the Big Ten to make the playoffs. That's what George said. It's still recorded. Hold on, still recorded. What was the score of that game against Indiana, Mr. Genius? 63-10 Indiana. So you were off by 50. You were off by 53 points. Don't interrupt me. Don't interrupt me. Don't interrupt me. Don't interrupt me.
Is Illinois going to make the playoff? Is Illinois going to make the playoff?
This is what he does. When I'm hammering him on his own words, he likes to interrupt.
I just told you.
So that's why.
Hey, Illinois may still make the playoff. Aaron,
typical George.
The problem is that you go by what you see, especially in the preseason, but you're too scared to do that. You're like, I'll wait until I see it. I'll wait until it's 12 games in, and now I'll believe. Come on, man.
63-10.
Don't be scared.
You said Illinois is going to win by like 20 or 30. You were off by 80 points.
One game prediction. So Illinois might still make the playoff.
Mendoza is the better quarterback.
I said that they were going to be a top 4 team in the Big Ten. And there's no proof that that's not true yet. Thank you.
George doesn't like the truth. Mendoza's better than Aller.
I'll bring us home. Hey, Indiana's a very good football team. They're like Oregon. They have a defense. They have a front 7. And they have an offense that can score some points. So you don't look past them. It's going to be a good football game. I believe Oregon is I know Oregon is the better team, but they still have to play the game.
They certainly do, and you want to make sure you don't have a letdown after having the bye week after an emotional game. Plus, Indiana, very dynamic quarterback as well, too. But a much-needed break for the Ducks, and we will have a bit of a break as we get set for that matchup against the Hoosiers. Oregon off this week, but then coming up next, big-time matchup against Indiana. And as always, guys, great to have you. Aaron, listen, we love you. We give you a hard time, but this show would be nothing but homers without you. So keep bringing it, and we appreciate you being able to take a couple body blows each show.
I deserved it.
All right, we'll catch you guys next week with Talkin Ducks. Appreciate you all joining in.